A clever thief. Have you heard a story about a thief? And that too a clever one? Well, I have one for you from a treasury of tales from the Kathasaritasagar, which has been retold by Jayashree Bhat, the clever thief. Let us find out about this story on Ammu&You, where I am Ammu and I am here ever ready to narrate interesting and beautiful stories to all of you. So here, the clever thief. Once there was a man who made his living by fooling others, for he knew no other tricks. He was a master of theft and tricks. But one day he got tired of that life. Enough of this petty nonsense. I need a new business. Something that will get me rich very quickly, so I don't have to toil hard every day, he said to himself. With the money he had saved up, the man went to the market and bought himself the most expensive silks he could find. Next, he went to the jeweler and bought pearls to wear around his neck and an exquisite ruby ring. Then he bought a fine black horse. After a quick stop at the turban maker, the thief was ready. He put on the silks and the pearls. He tied the turban around his head and admired himself in the mirror. And then he made his way to the king's palace. I am a nobleman from a neighbouring kingdom, and I wish to speak to his king's majesty, he said to the guards. Impressed by his bearings, the guards let him into the palace without a word. So what is it that you seek, traveller? Asked the king. Why have you come to me? Your Majesty, this might seem like a strange request, but I want you to call me aside every day in front of your entire court and speak to me for a few moments. In return, I will give you 100 gold coins every day. I want nothing else from you, said the thief and bowed low. An unusual request indeed, but what harm can possibly come from just talking to him? And then 100 gold coins every day will be added to the treasury. Thinking this, the king said, I will grant your request. The next day onwards, the thief had a place in the king's court, and every day the king did exactly as the thief asked. The other ministers in the court were surprised by the presence of this newcomer and thought that he was a newly appointed minister. One day, halfway through the court's proceedings, while the king was whispering into the thief's ears, the latter looked at the chief minister and frowned. This happened several times in the next few days. The chief minister was filled with dread. He was certain that the king and the new minister had been discussing him. After the darbar was over, the chief minister rushed to the thief, sweat pouring down his face, and asked, Why were you frowning at me like that? Was the king saying anything about me? With a solemn look on his face, the thief answered, The king thinks that you have been stealing from the treasury. He was asking you for my opinion about what to do with you, execute you, or imprison you for life. The chief minister exclaimed, I have done no such thing. Oh God, how do I convince the king? The thief said gently, Don't worry, I will speak to the king tomorrow when he is a little calmer. The minister went home, worried sick for his life, and that evening had 1,000 gold coins sent to the thief. The next day the king called the thief to the throne and whispered in his ear. This time the thief looked at the chief minister, nodded and smiled. Later that day, more presents arrived at the thief's home from the grateful minister. The next week, the king called the thief to the throne as usual. This time, the thief frowned at the general of the king's army. After the darbar, the general asked the thief, What did the king say about me? The king thinks that you are planning to take over the kingdom by turning his army against him. He plans to have you thrown in the prison tomorrow, said the thief. The general's eyes widened. I will go right now and speak to him. He has been knowing me for several years. How can he think this about me? The thief patted him on the shoulder and said, He will not listen to you now. Let me speak to him tomorrow. The next day the king called the thief to the throne and whispered in his ear. This time the thief looked at the general, nodded and smiled. When he went home that evening, the general was waiting for him at his doorstep with folded hands and bags of jewels and gold. In the next few weeks, the thief duped the vizier, the treasurer, other officials, and even the queens. He made a lot of money by fooling people into believing that he was protecting them from the king's wrath. A year passed, and the thief was now the richest man in the kingdom. He finally went to the king and told him about what he had done. Your Majesty, I have 50 million gold pieces now. But this wealth is not mine to keep. What will I ever do with it? You will be able to make much better use of it, and so it is all yours. The king was shocked at first, but then he roared with laughter. You trick the cleverest people in my kingdom. I need someone like you in my court as my political advisor. Will you accept it? What did the thief do, you think, children? Well, this is what he was looking for. Now he had a respectable, assured place for life where he could make riches as much as he could. And that is why this is what we call the clever thief. How did you like the story, children? Let me know in the comment section below the video. Write and like, share and subscribe. Please hit the bell icon so that you know about my new videos that I put. And thank you for listening to my story. Wait till I come back again. Ammu says, Tata.